ليل الردى وتمادى العدا وغدا الظلم في عصرنا سيدا طال ليل الردى وتمادى العدا وغدا الظلم في
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أما بعد. Okay, brothers, there you had a very short chronology of the Crusades, and really, you know, somebody like Salahuddin, again, we can't speak about him in 45 minutes. It's unjust to just speak about everything that was related to him in just 45 minutes. But we can speak again, we can pick an aspect of his life. So today we are not going to discuss the Crusades and, you know, the type of battles that occurred and so on and so forth, but we have taken something from his personality. And some of the tapes that are used for this is a set of, again, there were a set of 4 tapes on Salahuddin Ayyubi by one of the scholars. I forgot his name, I don't recall his name now, but one of the scholars, he compiled these tapes. And one side of one tape was about his personality, from which I've tried to take some benefits so that we can maybe reflect on that. So, first of all, who is Salahuddin? What is his name? His name Sultan Salahuddin. This is his name, Salahuddin Abu al-Muzaffar Yusuf ibn al-Amir Najmuddin Ayyub ibn Shadi ibn Marwan ibn Yaqub ad-Duwaini then at-Takriti. He was born in the year 544 after Hijri, which corresponds to 1137 Christian era. And his father, whose name was Najmuddin, he used to love him as a boy. You know, Salahuddin, he used to like him a lot. And he used to, is recorded that he used to play ball with him as well. The historians, they recorded that he used to love his son, used to play ball with him. And from the early age, he sent Salahuddin to the halaqat of ilm, to the study circles of knowledge with the scholars, until Salahuddin, you know, he perfected the Arabic language, and he also became from the fuqaha, from the jurists of the Shafi'iyya, of the Shafi'i madhab. So he was a scholar in his right as well. He wasn't just a mujahid, but he was a scholar as well. And this is very important, because when a person, you know, he is waging a jihad, or any time he does an act of worship, he should be aware of all the rulings with regards to that act of worship. And if he is a mujahid or a commander, then he should be aware of all the aspects, that who is he allowed to kill, who is not allowed to kill, what are the rules governing peace, and what are the rules governing war, and so on and so forth. As for his character, in terms of his mercy, one of the things that he did for the Muslims was that previous to him coming to power, the Fatimiyya dynasty, they imposed a lot of taxes on the Muslims. The Islamic State, or the Fatimiyya, they imposed many taxes. You know, even taxes for small things, buying, selling, you have to pay tax. You want to do anything you want to do, you have to pay a tax, and the tax would go to the government. So when Salahuddin came, he removed, you know, most of these taxes to make it easy for the people. So he took away most of these taxes for the Muslims. In terms of his bravery, he used to accompany soldiers to the front line. He wouldn't just, you know, sit in the back in his tent and just give the orders, but he would be there with his armies at the front. And it's also narrated that during the siege of Akka, one night 70 ships of the Crusaders, they came between Asr and Maghrib. And Salahuddin, he didn't like panic and think, oh, you know, the ships are coming, you know, let's run, let's do something. He saw the ships coming, and very peacefully, you know, he just counted them one by one, from Asr to Maghrib, 1, 2, 3, 4, until all 70 ships came of the Crusaders. Then the Muslims, they had a battle on that day with the Christians, and the Muslims, they had to make a tactical withdrawal. So Salahuddin, he took the Muslims to the mountain. They regrouped on the mountain, and they came and attacked the Crusaders, and they won on the same day. And that day of that battle was a very, it was a very difficult day. And it's narrated that, it was rainy and it was windy, and he was in his tent, from where he was, commanding the battle as well, from his tent. And the historian who mentioned this, he said that, if you just think about it, that he was, at that time he was one of the leaders of the Muslims, and he could have been sitting back in his palace with his family, enjoying with his, with his wives, with his children, having expensive food. But he preferred to leave that and to go and live in that tent, on that rainy and windy night. That is what he got his pleasure from. And it said that it was so rainy and windy that, some of his soldiers, they were even concerned that the tent might blow away, or fall down or something like that. So this shows, his bravery and how much he was like, he was a soldier in his own right as well. It wasn't just giving the orders. In terms of his patience, when his son Ismail died, and he received the news that his son Ismail died, he didn't tell anybody. He didn't express his grief to anybody. He didn't go to people and say, oh, my son's died, my son's died, my son's died. He didn't tell anyone, and he just contained his grief, within himself. And the only way that the people could see his sadness was, some tears that, came, that rolled down his face. But other than that, he didn't, that was the only way you could tell that he was hurt, or grieved by the death of his son. But from verbally, he didn't make any expression of his grief. And this is really these are really the characteristics of the real men. You see that, how their complaints and their sorrows, they're only to Allah, not to the creation. He was also, as a ruler, he was also very, very tolerant. And what used to happen is that, as a ruler of the Muslims, the people, they would come to him, as the governor of the Muslims, the people, they would come to him with their complaints. And you can imagine that, he is the ruler of the Muslims, and he's sitting down on his mat, and all these angry people, who are living in the country, the Muslims, they are coming to complain to him. So as the people, they are coming, some people, they're stepping on his clothes, some people, they're soiling, they're dirtying his carpet that he's sitting on. Some people, they're speaking to him rudely, because this is the ordinary people. He wasn't like living in his palace and saying, listen, if you want to speak to me, don't come to me directly, go to one of my ambassadors, and you make your complaint to him. No, you could come to him directly and make your complaint. So the people would come, and all types of people, some people being rude, some people don't know how to speak to him. And this type of behavior, you need a lot of patience for it. It's not easy. It is very difficult. If you are the Amir or the Khalifa, and people are coming to you and are accusing you of maybe some things that you haven't done, that, oh, you don't do this, you don't do that, you're being unjust, my family hasn't had this for this much time or that much time. And in the past, some of the Muslim rulers, you couldn't say that to them. If you dare say something like that to any one of, even today, if you go to any of the rulers in the Muslim countries and just speak your mind, nobody's going to hear about you, very soon. That'll be the end of you. But he used to listen very, very patiently. He used to listen quietly. Even if they dirtied his clothes, whatever, he'd just listen, okay, what have you got to say? And he would, attend to everyone's affairs. Because he knew that as being the ruler of the Muslims, this is something that he will be answerable to Allah on the Day of Judgment. So he looked at it as a responsibility for which he is answerable, rather than, a high status with which he could look down upon the people. In terms of his chivalry, the English historian Mill, he narrates that when Al-Quds was captured, when Salahuddin, he captured Jerusalem, the Crusaders who were who had to flee, they fled, and they went to the nearby city or country of Antioch. And that was also ruled by a fellow Christian, and they went to him, and they thought that, okay, that now we've gone to a fellow Christian country, they'll look after us. And what did the ruler of Antioch do? He saw these crusaders had come, they had just lost the battle of Jerusalem, they come to him asking for help. He robbed them, he took their own money. He was a Christian as well, he robbed them of their money and he kicked them out.